They say the mind is a battlefield, but most people don't realize they're fighting against themselves. Every doubt, every fear, every dark thought that whispers, "You can't," that's the enemy within. And unless you conquer it, you'll live your whole life as your own prisoner. He had achieved more than most, yet his mind was never at peace. Every success was followed by doubt, every calm moment invaded by worry. It wasn't the world that was cruel to him, it was his own thinking. The endless stream of what-ifs and why me drowned every spark of peace he tried to create. He sought answers in distractions, work, noise, people, but the silence always returned, reminding him of the battle he refused to fight. The battlefield was invisible, yet it left the deepest scars. His thoughts became chains that bound him tighter every day, and he began to understand why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It was a realization that struck him like lightning. He had spent years trying to control the world, while ignoring the one thing he could actually command, his mind. As he stared into the stillness of the night, he made a quiet decision. He would stop feeding the thoughts that weakened him. He would begin the hardest journey of all, mastering his own mind. But he didn't yet know that to kill negative thinking, he first had to face it head-on. He began to notice the voice inside him, not the one that spoke out loud, but the one that whispered quietly, constantly, and cruelly. It questioned every action, doubted every decision, and turned every mistake into a story of failure. The voice didn't shout, it simply drained his strength, thought by thought, day by day. He realized that this voice wasn't truth, it was fear, disguised as logic. It spoke in the language of safety, telling him not to try, not to hope, not to rise. But beneath that safety was slavery. For as long as he listened to it, he was no longer the master of his mind, he was the servant of his own weakness. So, he began to observe. He started seeing his thoughts not as commands, but as clouds passing through the sky. Some were dark and heavy, others light and harmless. Yet none of them defined the sky itself. The mind, he learned, is not who we are, it's what we must learn to control. Marcus Aurelius had written, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And for the first time, he understood that happiness isn't something to be found, it's something to be built, thought by thought. But awareness alone wasn't enough. To defeat his negativity, he needed to train the mind like a soldier, disciplined, precise, and unyielding. And that battle was about to begin. He began to treat his mind like a fortress under siege. Every negative thought that entered was an intruder, and he would no longer let them roam freely. When doubt whispered, he didn't fight it with emotion, he faced it with reason. When fear appeared, he didn't run, he examined it, questioned it, reduced it to nothing but a shadow. Each morning, he trained in silence. He watched his thoughts as they rose, each one begging for attention, validation, or reaction. But instead of feeding them, he let them dissolve. This was the Stoic discipline Marcus Aurelius had lived by, to see things as they are, not as they appear in fear. Soon he learned that the mind can be trained through repetition, like any muscle. When a negative thought arose, he would answer with truth. When self-pity whispered, he would remind himself, "This is not happening to me, it's happening for me." Each correction was a step closer to freedom. The world outside hadn't changed, the same people, same challenges, same storms. But inside, he was transforming. His thoughts no longer ruled him, they served him. He had learned that peace was not a gift to receive, but a discipline to practice daily. Yet one truth remained, to master the mind completely, he would have to let go of something deeper than fear, the illusion of control itself. In time, he discovered the greatest paradox of all, that true control comes only when you stop clinging to it. The more he tried to suppress every dark thought, the stronger they seemed to grow. But when he accepted them, when he simply allowed them to exist without reaction, they began to fade on their own. He finally understood what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "You become what you give your thoughts to." The mind wasn't his enemy anymore, it was his greatest ally, once he learned how to guide it instead of fight it. Calmness became his default state, not because life grew easier, but because his perspective grew stronger. He stopped resisting the storm. He became the calm eye within it. When anger came, he met it with understanding. When fear arrived, he welcomed it with awareness. Every emotion, every thought, became a visitor, none were permanent, and none could define him. He realized that killing negative thinking doesn't mean silencing it, it means starving it, refusing to feed it with attention or belief. And in that stillness, a quiet power emerged, the power to choose peace over chaos, reason over reaction, mastery over misery. The war inside him was over. The mind that once imprisoned him had become his temple. He no longer sought control of the world, because he had finally mastered the only kingdom that truly matters, himself. If this story helped you silence the chaos within, subscribe to Stoic Hustle, where we turn ancient Stoic wisdom into modern power, sharpen the mind through discipline, and teach you how to master yourself before the world.